Look into the dark. What do you see? Maybe it's nothing, or maybe it's something worse. In the short film The Worm, we learn that not all monsters have teeth. Some monsters consume your mind as well. It was an ordinary night. Sparrow was fixing her car when something went wrong. The radio started glitching, the street lights started flickering, and before she knew it, a monster appeared from the darkness and demanded that she feed it. Years later, 17-year-old Sparrow is in therapy and her doctor is stumped. She seemed ordinary enough. Before the incident, she had a normal life. She didn't suffer trauma or abuse. Yet she's cold and distant. She has self-inflicted cuts on her arms. She doesn't sleep and barely eats. Something must have triggered her to do the horrifying things she did. Maybe it had something to do with her being the only survivor of the Woodfield Five. As months pass, Sparrow's doctor grows desperate. It's why he administers a drug that disorients her into a dreamlike state to make her highly suggestible. In other words, he gives her a truth serum. It doesn't take Sparrow long to reveal the truth. Years ago, an old man told her about an entity called the Worm. From that day, the Worm latched onto her and has been with her head ever since. It appears in a fog only she can see before it consumes her whole. After hearing this, the doctor erases all traces of their session, thinking that's all to the story. But then the dreams start. He sees a fog, then the worm appears and consumes him, just like it done to Sparrow. And just like Sparrow, it doesn't take long for these dreams to affect his life. Eventually, he tracks Sparrow down for answers. She's better now, completely different from the person she once was. That's when she tells him that the worm is a parasite that feeds off of its host's worst memories. It won't kill you, but it will consume you in other ways. The only way to get rid of it is to tell someone else about it. Had the doctor not drugged her, the worm would have died with her. But now, it has latched itself onto him, and this story is his way of spreading it to all of you. This short was like a slow descent into madness that consumes you at the very end. The tension built slowly, leading to a big revelation that the doctor used the story as a trap to get rid of the worm, and have it latch onto all the people watching this film at home. It was brilliant, and I couldn't have thought of a better ending. Now you might be wondering, what did Sparrow do? Well, the film mentions how Sparrow was the remaining survivor of the Woodfield Five, who are a group of 5 teens who tragically passed after suffering from a shared psychosis. The theory is that the old man who spread the worm to Sparrow told all 5 kids at the same time, and their plan was to get rid of each other all at once to prevent the spread. It's theorized that Sparrow had been the one assigned with taking everyone out, but failed on her own turn, which is why she has self-inflicted cuts on her arm and why she's now being psychologically evaluated. This short film is about trauma, particularly the trauma we don't see. It's about mental health and the invisible struggles people battle on their own. Sparrow suffered from an inescapable monster that fed on her worst fears. She explained it as it eating away at her. This mental attack left her in such a state of despair that she didn't even feel safe in her own head, a space that is supposed to be uniquely hers. Aside from the threat targeting her from the inside, Sparrow had to endure ones from the outside as well. Her doctor became obsessed with her case, not because he genuinely wanted to help, but for his own selfish curiosity. He even says she became a puzzle to solve. He stopped viewing her as a person and instead viewed her as this thing to defeat or a task to accomplish. Her well-being stopped being his top priority and was instead replaced by an overwhelming need to fulfill his own desires. Not only does he drug her using a method that he says himself could risk his career, but he administers so much that it overwhelms her body. He no longer cared that he was putting her in danger, and I think his abuse of power is ultimately what this film is about. It's about the loss of autonomy victims face. Sparrow may not have had any signs of abuse or trauma, but she was still a victim. She was an unsuspecting teenager whose life was ruined by an old man who selfishly passed along his trauma so that he didn't have to deal with it anymore. Her own doctor took advantage of her for his own curiosity, and at the same time, her mind was being consumed by a monster who was never satisfied no matter how much of her it consumed. It's like everyone around her was eating away at her until there was nothing left, because to them, she wasn't a person. She was something to be consumed and exploited. It's sad because Sparrow was going to sacrifice herself so that her trauma wouldn't affect anybody else. The worm isn't just a monster, it's a metaphor for how pain is often passed from one person to the next.